Hey there, Munchers! Today we have part 2 revisiting what we've talked about in Java with some new content to learn. Last time, we ended with an assignment, which was to implement a basic grading system with conditionals and variables. Let's see how we can do that quickly in a new class. We'll call this class Grading System and make a main function quickly. Inside, we'll make an integer variable called student1 and give it a score of 85. Next, we'll make an integer variable called student2 and give it a score of 44. We'll make an int variable called currentStudent, which will hold student1 score for now. Then we'll make a quick series of if statements. Now, as you might expect, student1 will cause you to have a B grade. If we switch it out for student2, we should have an F grade. We can make as many students as we want here and see what the grading system prints out for each one. Alright, now that we've learned from the project, we're going to continue our Java basics with loops. Sometimes you want to repeat something many times, but you don't want to type it out. Loops help accomplish that. There are two major kinds of loops, while loops and for loops. A while loop is just like a conditional, but it will keep running everything inside the curly braces while the condition is true. Here's an example. Int x equals 7. While x is less than 10, print x and add 1 to x, which is what x++ means. Each time this loop runs, we add 1 to x so you can see that it prints 7, 8, and 9. The reason it doesn't print 10 is that it exited the loop since x was no longer less than 10. You could do this in reverse order with a greater than sign and minus minus instead. The for loop runs for a certain number of times. This is defined so that you have a limited number of times you run it. First, you give it a variable, which programmers usually name as I. Set it to a starting value, usually something like 0. Add a condition, such as less than 10. Then you can iterate by adding or subtracting every turn. This is the structure to for loops. You might notice that we've done the same as a while loop with a much cleaner look and with easier typing, but a for loop is limited to the structure of the number of times the program will run. A while loop, however, can have any condition and will keep running until that condition is false. So both types of loops definitely have their uses. The last thing I'll say on the topic is that you want to be careful that there's a way to end the program. If you don't have a way for the conditional to stop, the program will keep running forever and can sometimes crash. Be careful. Finally, let's look at functions. As you can see already, things are becoming very crowded in main, and the only way to bypass that for now has been to create more classes. But we can do something better by splitting information into functions. This is an example of a function. Void means it doesn't return any information. We might just print to the screen with the function or perform some task here, but it won't necessarily return a value. You can change this to int, bool, or any data type or object for that matter, and it will return a variable of that data type, like this. What if you want to provide input? You can put it within the parentheses. You need to name any inputs and give them a data type. You can then use them inside the function. You might notice the main function is void, so it doesn't return a value and takes in as inputs some kind of string with brackets named args. Don't worry about the details of those brackets yet, as we will discuss them when we pick up some more knowledge of data structures. Finally, we might want to test this function. The way we do that is by calling it in main, because main is where everything runs. This function returns an int, so we want to store the int in an int variable. A good name for this would be sum, as you'd expect. We can provide two ints we want to include in the function and then print it out. Let's look at what happens when we change the two inputs that we provide. Amazing. On that note, that's all we need to know for this Java Starter tutorial on DSAs. Keep in mind that as we learn new topics, we'll be expanding our Java knowledge base. Comment down below on one new thing you learned about Java or what you're curious about doing in Java next. Otherwise, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw here, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when the next one's coming. See you next time.